2 and 1. Hello, you guys, and welcome to the
Woman's Cave.
I messed up the count today.
Yeah, she did, and I was just sitting down like, oh, is that lint I see on my dress?
You
should have
plucked it off. Yeah. That would have been much better. It'll make up for me in the red dress and the small.
No,
anyway,
no,
we're never doing that again.
We're not going. If y'all don't know what we're talking about, you have to go back and see Bailey's episode, and then you will totally know. And it was bad. It was horrible.
Was it really Bailey Patrick that I did that to?
Yeah, Winona. Bailey Patrick.
I need to take a moment of silence for my own stupidity.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, well, this is day whatever of the pandemic, right?
At this point,
and
all days or whatever. And I'm Winona.
Yeah, so...
Oh, we remember to introduce
ourselves. I don't know if we have it. Social distance stuff, because it's still a pandemic out here, y'all. Don't touch people's hands.
No.
I don't really know. Like, I think my funniness has just gone down like the last 10 months.
It's gone down because she took a nap and now she just woke up and she did not have coffee. So
my goodness, that nap was. I needed all of that nap. It was fabulous. Now I can work till 2:00 in the morning.
I'm gonna take my nap now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and now you can't take it right now. We're doing an interview. Anyway, we want literary life guys who pop poetry. Taking a nap now. I can't even get over it.
I know.
All right.
Tell them about the 3 or 4 of the 23 books we read.
All right. So, and I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons, and I thought being grown up was easy. If only I were me. A memoir and verse, which will be soon an audiobook. Thank you, Joe. And I thought being grown up was easy. Y'all need to check out that. You
need to check out that audiobook.
Hilarious. I mean, if you don't just buy the whole audiobook, at least listen to the sample, because
it's hilarious.
On Audible, you will laugh. It is really funny, and Joe does a really great job doing it.
Me while I yawn again.
And then our number 1 book that actually was number 1 in Amazon for a little bit, and the new
so it's our only anthology book,
right? In poetry anthologies is The Women's Cave and Other Pop Poems and Misfit Guide. All right, you can check out everything your ladies are doing, and I do mean everything, probably even some of the boring stuff that you wish you never knew about us, on www.andwethought.com. But y'all aren't here to hear us going on and on about us.
You're here to hear from our wonderful guests. Wonderful guests, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Casey Bell, and I am happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Okay, so
Casey has done amazing things in media.
Yes.
So let's first of all talk about the grand vision that you had, and then you can talk about how you scaled it back a bit.
So you're referring to the my podcast, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how, do you want the short version or the long version?
We want any version you're willing to tell.
If you take the long version, I can get my nap. No, I'm
joking. Well, the long version. I'll try to make it short. I received an email I was on a emailing list of a Broadway producer who was writing to playwrights only. And he sent us a challenge to enter a television festival where you submit either ideas for reality show, dramas, comedies, etc. So at first I said no, because I'm not really into writing for television.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally just said, let me think about it. And make a long story short, I came up with an idea for a wonderful show I thought was wonderful, the drama series. And I wrote like 10 episodes because I made the assumption they would pick it up and I should have the episodes ready, even though they only wanted a pilot episode. Of course, they got rejected. And I felt horrible because for me, it was like, that was a lot of work. And so then I resubmitted it to somewhere else. I won't say where. It got rejected again. And I began to say, well, what do I do with it? And I said, well, maybe if I came up with my own television station, then I can do it. Then I said, well, I don't really have Oprah's money or resources or knowledge to start my own television station. Secondly, I'm highly stubborn. And I know the FCC controls television basically. And if they have a problem with anything, you have to heed to them. And I said, well, I'm just stubborn and I can't do that. So I said, I'll start my own television station on YouTube. So I came up with all these programs, blah, 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 blah. And my idea was to have like a big television with TV shows and news and reality shows, blah, 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 blah. And of course the pandemic hit and it was like, I had no intentions of starting the station. and during the pandemic. Originally, I was just going to start a YouTube channel called Writer to Writers Interviews. And that was going to be basically my first podcast where I talk to writers, authors, playwrights, screenwriters, poets, whatever. When I made the promo for the show, I accidentally said Writer to Writer Interviews on CSB television. And I said, oh wait, no, I'm not doing that now. That's wrong. And then I heard the Lord say, why not? And I said, well, I can't because I wanted to start at top of the mountain and I didn't have the resources to do that, nor could I because we were in a pandemic. And that's when I was like, he said, you got to start at the bottom. So I said, yeah, you're right. So I started at the bottom and I started Writer to Writer Interviews. And so far it's been mostly authors. I did speak to a poet. But from there, it kind of just started creating itself, the channel. I have like 7 or 8 shows now, and it wasn't planned. Those shows weren't planned. They basically just happened. And so that's where I'm at. That's what I've been doing since, I'll say April-ish, because April is when I started contacting the authors and saying, hey, would you like to join me? And then May was the first video that went up live.
That is fabulous. And let me just say that, like, sometimes when you have like this grand vision and then you have to scale it down, it can be so discouraging.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you got over that discouragement to go to your greatness. I mean, what are like 3 pieces of advice that you would give people that have in that very same situation right now? Mm-hmm. Like they had a grand vision and then things didn't work out, and so now they're like at the scaled down vision.
Well, the first advice is to remember that even though you have a great vision, it's not necessarily for you. It's for your audience. It's for people. It's even for the people who work with you, because the best way we learn is through experience, not necessarily through taking a test with a number 2 pencil, but through experience. And so sometimes that vision is not necessarily for you to get all the awards and accolades. It's to get other people to work with you so that they can learn how to do whatever it is they're doing. Or sometimes it's for an audience member who you're creating something they've been looking for and now they found it through you. Or it's for your guests who come on. And so it's not so much to get discouraged, but to realize there's a reason why you're starting where you're starting. The second advice, which I had to, tell myself, was remember, you can't start at the top of the mountain. No one can. I mean, unless, of course, you get on a jet, they fly you up there. But at the end of the day, when you're climbing a mountain, you really have to start at the very bottom of it and work your way slowly to the top. And the thing about that is you're also learning who you are, really. You're learning how to deal with other people, because people forget when you work with other people, they grew up in different homes, they went to different schools, they worked around different things. What we think might be common sense of work ethic might not be for someone else who worked in a different environment. And so lots of times that going up the mountain slowly is to learn people and to learn yourself and to learn how to work with people without fighting and bickering and throwing things at each other. And so it would be to remember to start at the bottom of the mountain. And then the third advice I would give is remember the message or the reason why you're doing it in the first place. Because if it's for selfish reasons, yeah, you'll be discouraged. But if you realize it's not for selfish reasons, it's for someone else, that the goal is more important than how you start or even how you finish. But just as long as you reach the goal, or let's say you wanted to start something to help lower suicide rates, and you start out, great, you get all these awards and you get to the top of the mountain in 2 seconds, but the suicide rate goes up, you failed. But if you start very small and it looks horrible, but you realize you're helping people to stop committing suicide, even though it's not what you thought it was, you still reached your goal. And reaching the goal is always more important than what it may or may not look like to you.
Exactly. Wow. So what have you learned from your guests? Because it seems like you have learned a lot from your experience. Let's talk about what you learned from your guests so
Which
far.
is always like one of our favorite things. We learn so much in these interviews with y'all. So much.
I've learned that I kind of knew it beforehand, but so I have a show for writers, a show for performers, a show for musicians, a different show for visual artists, a show for entrepreneurs. And the one thing I learned from all of them is that there is no school for success, and that there is no one pathway, there is no one template that we should all use, that every one of them, even when I'm talking to all the musicians, they all have a different road to how they got to where they're at, to where they have a recording contract. When I'm talking to the authors, they all went on a different pathway to get that book published. It's just, that's the one thing I learned, was that everyone's road is different, and that there really is no school, that life itself is school, and that you'll never know every step to take, but you'll always know the first step. And once you take that first step, the second step will show itself. And when you take the second step, the third step will show itself. And it'll just keep going, because at the end of the day, if you don't do step 1, you don't need to know step 20, because you didn't even do the first step. So it really taught me to just take the first step, because every guest I spoke to said that they took the first step, was scared, but they did it anyways. And each one went forward and found their success.
Wow.
I love it.
I love
I
it
especially
very much.
love about taking the
First
first
step, because it's
Get on
so
my
true.
way.
Because sometimes you get in your own way, right? And you're like, I
Exactly.
don't know the 20th step. Well, yeah, because you're not there yet. And
for those who took the first step and it failed, I just always love to say this one thing, is that you're doing better than someone who's been thinking about those 20 steps for 20 years.
Actually, that's what we say in our book, where I'm just like, this is sometimes when you do what other people would say is you're sloppy at. You're like, oh my goodness, this is sloppy at best. Right. Where's your proof of what you've been doing? Oh, I'm still planning. My sloppy at best is better than the plan, because I'm actually doing it. Although, let's not get it wrong. Eventually, you're gonna need a planner in your life. So please reach out to the planners in your life, because they are key to actually getting some success. Let me just say that, because I didn't want anyone to think that you don't need a planner. You need one. You need one.
Yeah.
So when COVID is over, Casey, what do you think you're going to do with your own studio now, your own network?
I have no clue. I really, if anything, I'll continue working as I am working, as far as at home, using Zoom and things of that nature, until, because I guess you can say, when the pandemic is over, are people going to still feel safe to leave? You know, and then the second question is, when the pandemic is over, is things are going to be safe politically, if you know what I mean. And so I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what more things might happen to cause us to stay home even more. But I do know that whatever happens, I'll continue doing what I can see and feel is the right thing to do, but I don't know what that is.
Well, that's fabulous. I love how you put that.
The fact that you're able to quickly turn on a dime and be able to get the content out that's going to match the people's needs at that time, it's going to make you such a better network to watch.
Absolutely. And so we've been talking about this network. Let's talk about where the network is, where we can see these shows. Also,
and what's coming up next?
So you can watch it either on YouTube or Upload Hubs. You look for CSB Television. If you go to YouTube, you're going to see 2 CSB televisions. They look the same. One of them has like 1 video. That's not the one you want. You go to the second one. Now, why is it like that? Because when I started CSB Television, I logged in and everything was fine. When I went back the next day, Google said I had the wrong password. And I tried everything to get in, and I even contacted someone, and till to this day, I never received a response. So I had to create a new CSB Television channel. So, and there's nothing I could do with that YouTube channel that's sitting there with 1 video. I contacted Google, but they're not responding anything to me. So CSB Television, either on YouTube or uploadhubs.com.
Nice. And when do shows normally come out? What are the days?
So I can tell you the ones for sure, because some of them are on hold, because with all except 1 show is me talking to someone. So if I don't have guests, I can't do the show. So, but I'll start with Sunday. Sunday is called The Ready Writer, and that's where I talk to a writer. And it could be any type of writer. Like I said, playwright, screenwriter, author, poet, songwriter, someone who writes articles, whoever. Mondays is my show. This is my comedy show that was originally supposed to be a comedy show in the form of reality TV, kind of like The Office. It's called The Customer Is Usually Wrong. And that is based on my 17 years experience of working in customer service. I realized that the customer is usually wrong. But of course, you can't say that. So when you're at work, Although I will say I've always worked at a place where my managers were on my side, so they wouldn't have been upset had I said that. But this is my chance to get out all my anger, all my frustrations, all my, and it's also a way for me to show people, because working in customer service really taught me how to be a better customer. And I'm hoping that it will show, in laughing, it will show people there's just certain things you shouldn't do, certain customer etiquette. For the last episode that just came out last week was because I worked in the theater business for a long time. I worked in box office, and the customer's on the phone while they're in the car. So you hear, horns, you hear sirens, you hear the music they're playing, and they during the call they turn it up, and they start, "Ooh, this is my jam," and it's like, but this is not the time to do that. If you're going to be in your car, be in your car. Don't call to order tickets. And so the show is just, it's funny, but it's also the hope to show people, okay, there's just customer etiquette that I hope people do better, because it really did teach me how to do better. Tuesdays, what is Tuesdays? I believe Tuesdays is the gold mine, spelled MINED. In other words, as in gold, the gold has been mined, And that is because, and I talk to entrepreneurs, and it's to kind of help people who are thinking about entrepreneurship, but they're still afraid. And it's to kind of show we were really original, all entrepreneurs prior to Social Security coming out and all of that stuff. Everyone had their own family business. And so it's kind of just to show people their entrepreneur side they always had. Wednesdays used to be 2 shows. The show Must Go On, which is me talking to actors, singers, and dancers about, them getting into the business and what they're doing now during the pandemic. And then the other show was Plant Life Moments, which is a vegan lifestyle show where I talk about veganism. Thursdays is the musical interlude, where I talk to musicians. Friday is writer to writer interviews. That was the very first show that went up. That is where I speak to, where there's 2 writers, and they ask each other 5 questions about their books, their writing, and also their publishing. And then that's actually it. Those are the main shows. I have other shows. I had a mini series that's over, called Seeds of Pain, and it was prisoners who got out. If they agreed to take group therapy, they would get less time and blah, 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 blah. And so it's their therapy session. It's 5 episodes. I know it needs to go further, but right now I'm just going to wait until I know the time is right. There's a short film called Don't Rush, and it's about waiting for marriage, waiting for children, things of that nature. Boy realizes his parents didn't wait. And what happened is the mother decided to abandon and live her dreams. And once the boy got old enough, the father decided to have a midlife crisis and ends up dating his son's ex-girlfriend. And so it's really discussing, when you don't wait, you really do have to sacrifice your life. And then when you have to sacrifice your life, you end up doing things that kind of not only hurtful for you to yourself, but to your child. And then I have a play reading on there called The Day the Rainbow Breaks Up. It's for children, and it's about discrimination and how, some people think other people are superior to others because of their skin color. And basically it talks about, well, what would happen if the rainbow thought that way, that they thought one was better than the other? What would happen if they just so break up? And then that's basically it at the moment on there. But I do see a lot more coming. I just don't want to, let's just say I've been in contact with some people, but it's in between, and I don't know if it is going to happen or not going to happen. So I'd rather not say anything. But that's basically it.
That's amazing.
Fabulous. Wow.
That is a
And
ton.
you have been doing a lot during the pandemic. I'm glad that you got to be so creative doing it. Tell people one more time just where they can find it.
Well, you can actually go to the website, csbtv.co. That's csbtv.co. And that's where you can really get everything you need to know. And if you're listening and want to be a guest, you can also go to that website and go to the sign up section and sign up to any one of those shows where I talk to people.
Nice. Can I sign up to all of them?
No.
Yes.
No. No. So thank you so much for coming on today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, I think this is a great time to wrap us up. I mean, he wrapped himself up. We got csbtv.co. I never do that. I can't believe I did it.
Wow, no, I think I did it.
Yes,
I'm social distance style though, y'all. All right, so you can find out everything you ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com. You can check out our new podcast, Where Professional Actors Read Winona's Script. Also, Winona's Seriously. More important than all of that, please go to the ladies tab, go to the middle, and see the charities that we proudly support. Maybe you can support them too. We thank you in advance for that. And just remember, wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona
and Jade. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.